Good morning. Well, I'm a little bit late responding to Prince of Fallen, but I thought I may as well, just for my own archives, because that was kind of a watershed, excuse the pun, moment, I think, where things just totally changed and the landscape totally changed. So whichever way, however you want to look at it, and however you want to call him, he did massively change the landscape by doing that. I was not prepared. I could not believe it. Oh my God. But and I'm a woman of the world, right? And obviously, I've told you before, I used to do Dean's job. So I have dealt with people, adults. I know what an adult nappy looks like. Because I've had to look after people in the past with that. And I'm sure Dean knows very well what an adult nappy looks like. I wonder if he has to actually toss them off in the nappy. I never did. But I mean, one of the places I worked, it was awful, because of private places. And these places are shocking. I'm not joking. He makes out that he's this big guy and big fucking wheel in the cracker factory and all that shit. These places are the pits. They really are. I mean, the place I worked was quite high level as well. People paid a lot of money to go there. And the staff were hiding the nappies because they wouldn't buy them the nappies. So if you had a member of staff on who wasn't very good at looking after that person, and that person was just sat in a horrible nappy all the time, then those nappies would go very quickly. And then you'd be stuck because the organisation wouldn't actually buy these people any more nappies. That's the sort of place we're talking about. And that's all over the place. They just want to make money all the time. That's why they employ people like Dean. Unskilled, low wage, just can't read, can't write, but can lift things. You know what I mean? But you have got people who do it as a vocation. Now, if Dean was doing it as a vocation, I think we'd see a little bit more of a caring attitude than what we've got, and we would definitely not see people. We would not hear him calling people the names that he calls people. We'd not see the judgment. We'd not see the lack of communication skills that he's got, and the lack of empathy. And we definitely wouldn't see him filming tenants. We would definitely wouldn't see him filming the environment and the actual premises themselves. There are actual rules and regulations about that. But never mind. Anyway, back to that. I was at work, and there's not a nappy in sight at my work these days. Well, apart from that day, I was on my lunch, and I just thought, I'll just quickly look at this Darius is a Sane upload, but I had the volume down because I was in the lunchroom, and I was just I had the CC on. And I just was not prepared for that visual. I just was not prepared for him to just stand up. And it took a few seconds for it to sink in what had actually just happened there. And I was just like, fucking hell. I had to get up and just be like, excuse me, guys, I've just got to go out for a minute, because it's quite hard to find a minute to yourself at my work at lunchtime. I mean, you can get it, but you just have to, excuse yourself. And I had to go and excuse myself and go and walk somewhere else to go and watch this thing. But I think what I'll say about it is, I mean, whatever floats your boat, do you know what I mean? Not my bag. But, I have got respect for the guy for standing up and actually saying that in the place where we're at. And that's why I'm making this video, because everyone's had their reaction and whatnot, and that's pretty boring, really. But the thing I want to comment on is just where we're at as a community now. It's cool, not that particularly. Well, it depends if you like that sort of thing. Not so much my sort of thing, but it's cool that we are at this place now where people can do that. And yes, they're going to get a bit of piss ripped out of them, but it's nothing compared to what it was before. In the olden days, pre-Slotham, it was someone did that would be death. That would just be death. And they would be mercilessly bullied. And it wouldn't just be taking the piss. It'd be horrible, just really nasty, horrible shit. Dean TV levels of nasty, horrible, disgusting shit off everybody. And that's why people who were just a tiny bit away from the norm, and the norm was established by people like Darius and fucking Volp. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, Albert a little bit, but he was very much hiding his light under a bushel in those days. Because he's a pussy and we all know it. And until he's got someone backing him up and thinks he's got people in a corner, he ain't fucking saying boo to a goose. Fucking piece of shit. So, yeah, in those days, these weak people had Darius in their pocket. There was only Darius who people really were knocking around going to see that much and like sort of joining up around in those days, pre-Miko. So like it was and also like in my case, I can only speak from my experience, but I just used to pop in every now and again. It wasn't like a big thing. So like there was like this very specific norm. Well, white man's North Korea, that's what they called it, and it's true, that's exactly what it was. And then we've gone from that within like a year to people being open. I mean, you know, a knock Cyan and stuff like that is a fucking sideways piece of shit, and I wish he'd be more upfront, and I wish he'd be more honest with himself. But you know, he's only young, so he's got a way to go. And even when he came out with his premium vest, I was like, do you know what? Like, this would have never happened. People were scared to even just be anything other than what Darius and his fucking tribe of small-minded bigots made out. But see, most people didn't give a shit because you were only popping in for half an hour just to watch his video and then you were off again, so no one really cared. But it's just cool, I think, as people have got closer or people have got more involved, that they just express themselves more. And I'm just like, just express yourself, whatever, you know, you're free to express yourself, do what you want. If you're coming around my house, please don't shit yourself though. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's my thing, is, see, for this, there's an element of, if you're going out in public and you're getting some satisfaction out of doing that in public, obviously it's a kink and whatever, fair enough, but like, there's, I don't know, do you know what I mean? Self-sufficiency, man, come on. You shouldn't need, I'm not saying you personally or anyone, but one shouldn't need a whole host of people, a bus full of people, a supermarket full of people, whatever it happens to be, to get that back, you know? There should be an element of self-sufficiency going on, or at least just need the one or two people to help you out there. I just think that exhibitionism level really hints to me at a very complex issue that's coming out of this tech-based narcissism. Obviously, that's a bee in my bonnet. It is the pandemic we need to worry about. Prince of Fallen's younger than us, and he's a massive indicator of what we've got to come. You know, our kids, the kids are not all right. If you don't sort it out, if we don't keep an eye on our kids, if we let them do what they're doing now, and I mean, even if we do this with our kids, their kids, you know, this is what they've got to look forward to. And it might not be this specific issue, but whatever crazy ass thing wants to be promoted and pushed on vulnerable people will be. And it's just to sell cancer to people. Do you know what I mean? Most of the time, it's just smoke and mirrors for fucking McDonald's to sell cancer to you. That's basically all it boils down to. So it's just be warned and be careful. Now, I know I sound ignorant maybe to someone like Prince of Fallen, who probably, because I know he did say that he's been doing that all his life. So I don't want to belittle that and say it's all the internet. But believe me, I do think it has got a massive impact. You know, I mean, that Pikachu jumper says it all, you know? Like, if you're telling me that the internet does not have an impact and it was just that you just liked pissing yourself all your life, I disagree. I massively disagree. Yes, it could have still manifested in a different way because it's obviously a physical issue. I've said before that I have actually, I'm not a complete stranger to it, because when I did that Coward in a Way song, which I put up on my community post like yesterday or something, that was like 3 months ago, by the way, and I told you I can tell the future. But yeah, with that, I had to go and look for a photo. You know, I had to go and look for a bit of video on this. And I just was like, oh yeah, I'm a grown-up baby, right? So I went to look up for that. And I found a video while I was looking for it with this person who was like talking about it. So I went and I looked to like see to get some like clips and stuff. And then I was like, I was going to turn it off. And then I was like, no, do you know what? I'm going to let this person explain their case. I felt a bit bad turning it off on them because I was like, fair enough. And you know what? They did seem kind of reasonable, surprised me with how reasonable they were. They did admit, they were quite candid about it, and they did admit that it was pretty fucked up, and they admitted that it was trauma-based to do with their childhood. Fucked it. It's just mental, do you know what I mean? It's just really mental, in my opinion. But yeah, I was just like, by the end of it, I was just kind of like, whatever, do you know what I mean? But I mean, for me personally, I know people, it's like a kind of, obviously a kind of therapy at that point. But with the whole point about therapy is, you're supposed to move on. Fucking phone alarm going off halfway through my fucking rant. Ugh! Anyway, my point is, if it is to do, I'm just taking this with the other person's example. If it is to do with trauma, then yes, obviously there's something you need to iron out, a kink if you like, that you need to iron out in yourself. But, or maybe you don't want to iron it out in yourself, you know, fair enough. But I just think, if you're not dealing with it and processing something like that, and you're just kind of like jumping on it as a part of an identity, using that identity then to give you social feedback from your peers, you know, I don't know if there's like competitions as to who can pee the most in their fucking nappy or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm just giving examples, but that's now encouraging that behaviour. So it's kind of like a purgatory situation at that point, because you're getting some sort of satisfaction coming back from it. You're also getting validation from other people who want to normalise their existence and express themselves and whatever. I just think there might be a problem there with being hung up on a part of yourself that might be in nature something that you should process and move through. Not leave behind, but maybe evolve, you know, and change it, and don't just get stuck because some fucking idiot on the internet is telling you, oh, this is fine, we all do that, we all have clubs where we all get dressed up in tuxedos and go and shit on each other. That's all fine, but like, you know, just be aware that life is a journey and life is a process, and being stuck pissing yourself your whole life might not necessarily be, you know, the end result that you want. And that's all I want to say on it. But also, you know, if we do want to discuss about this psychologically, you know, this is a minefield. I'd love to talk to Prince of Fallen about this and actually discuss this psychologically if he feels up to it. If not, then we can just pontificate on our own, can't we? Only joking. But yeah, that's the end of that. I'm going to get off before my snooze alarm comes on.